Welcome back. We're at BLOC SHOP again. We've got a handful of climbs left in the gym to finish off, including what look to be a couple of the hardest boulders in the gym. We have the two white tapes. White tape is the hardest. It's like the bonus grade here. It's one above black. So here I'm finishing off the last black tape in the gym that I hadn't done yet. This was my flash go, and I just sound like a broken record, but the streak is continuing. I felt so strong again. And yeah, so I flashed the last black tape in the gym on my first go, and I was psyched, and it was time to go try the white tape for the first time. The first white tape we have to try is this super long, power endurance looking boulder with these big slopers. A couple of them have some jibs on them. And as you can see here, this is the first time I touched the boulder. Sometimes when I have basically a route climb that I'm gonna try during a session, in order to not get just completely flash pumped and just ruin the whole session, what I'm doing here is I'm actually just trying the last half of the climb first. I managed to actually flash this last half of the climb. And I do this just so that I don't give a super crazy hard first attempt and then just pump myself out of my mind, and then the rest of the session is kind of ruined. It's not necessarily ideal practice, obviously, for when you're competing. You don't get to do that, but oftentimes in a competition you're not going to see a boulder like this in the first place. And so yeah, here's my first attempt from the ground, but second attempt total, and you can see I'm actually flashing this white tape, which is I feel like this is kind of like a soft white tape. This never happens at BLOC SHOP. It'll be pretty rare that I even do one in the first place. So yeah, that was pretty surprising. But on the plus side, that actually was a good demonstration of all the power endurance I built up in the last training cycle. I definitely felt like I was definitely pumped by the end of the boulder. It was definitely a battle of resistance, but I felt like I had some endurance on my side, which was really nice to see actually. And now we're moving on to the last climb in the gym. My goal of sending everything in BLOC SHOP was just one boulder away now. But it was no easy feat, as it was the hardest boulder in the gym that was left. So we have these Technic slopers in the roof. This first move is kind of this 1-2 jump, and these slopers are super greasy. This climb would be hard enough if the holds had some texture, but these holds are so slimy. And the hardest part of the boulder for me here was this middle part. You can see I'm trying it individually now. It's actually kind of annoying. There are no jugs around, so it's kind of hard to climb into the sequence. I have to do a pretty strenuous sequence to get into it. But these slopers, you have to toe hook the right hand, like the side pull that you're doing this double jump to. And at first glance, it looks like it should be a sinker toe hook, and it should be really good. But it was actually really hard to hold the tension in order to get over the lip here. Toe hooks aren't necessarily my forte, but yeah, I was definitely having a hard time with the toe hook. And then you can see here, I kind of figured out a new sequence. When I was just trying the move individually, it was really hard to have my feet hanging in the air to do the toe hook. And this is actually something I forget a lot, is a lot of times when you're doing the toe hook, you want to try to avoid both of your feet dangling in the air if you can. Unless it's just a super easy toe hook, that's a different story. But if it's a really hard one, you always want to try and create some sort of opposition, whether it's a bicycle, or here you can see I had my left foot on the start hold, and so it's easier to have one foot on the start hold and one foot toe hooking than both feet toe hooking or one foot in the air. So that kind of unlocked the middle sequence for me. And then as soon as I had confidence that I could do the finish moves after trying them a few times, I found a new level of motivation, and I stuck the first move. So I stuck the first move a couple times, and I wanted to kind of have the end dialed in. Obviously, this isn't necessarily the best training for comp practice, kind of forerunning the ending basically before you're giving your set attempts. But I try to only do this with boulders that, this isn't necessarily a comp style boulder. You're not going to see this in a competition, this kind of line of pinches and slopers. Maybe every now and then. But when it's more just like a projecting based session and I'm just trying this boulder for the sake of trying a hard boulder, doing this trying the ending like this will help me send it faster so that I can go and actually get more variety of boulders in a session. Whereas like, if I get up to that ending sequence from the ground for the first time and I don't know what's coming, I'm more likely to fall, and then I'll have to try the boulder more times, and then I won't be able to move on faster. So I do the ending sequence there. It was pretty hard, but after I had done all the moves, I knew that I could piece this thing together, and it was just gonna be a matter of time. So this is my really good try from the ground. I get to this next pinch, and I knew I had it in the bag. I was like, yeah, I feel less pumped than when I just tried the ending on its own, but the right heel hook was so slippery, and my heel popped off, and I had the send in the bag, and then the BLOC SHOP, the full send of the BLOC SHOP gym was taken away from me, and I wasn't able, my toe hooks kept slipping, like all my tries later on. I wasn't able to get back up there again. So for our second session of the day, we are actually at the second BLOC SHOP location. So they have 2 locations, and they're actually building a 3rd one right now. So this is our first time here during this trip. And I started my first session a bit late. I had a bit of a late start to the day. I started around 1, which is quite late for me. I'll usually try to start between 11 and 12. So I didn't get to the gym until like 7, and I was definitely, what I realized happens with me a lot is, it doesn't matter if I, caffeinate up. If I kind of reach that window of like 7 p.m. and later on, I usually risk hitting a wall during training, and this happens to me a lot. It happened to me during this session. I warmed up, and this was the first boulder I started with, black tape. The tape grades are the same here. And I felt fine, like I felt pretty decent. This is probably actually the worst session I've had so far while we've been here, in terms of just like how I was feeling. But I felt okay. I was like, yeah, there's like a full gym of new boulders, and usually it's so easy to stay psyched and just go climb and climb everything that's put in front of you. But like, I hit a wall. Like, I got kind of sleepy. I felt like I could have taken a nap in the middle of my session. And even the brand new gym of new boulders couldn't sustain my energy levels, and I had to call it. So I think I only climbed for 35 minutes. Like I mentioned before, you can only have so many good sessions before you start crashing. So I think I might be starting to crash a bit right now, and then hopefully I'll be able to bring it back in time for the comp.